Hi, this is Jim from RT Metal, and today we're going to take you through installing our two-piece HST fan. If you find our videos useful or informative, please press the subscribe button that's down on the bottom of the screen here somewhere. So this is our new two-piece HST fan, and we're going to show you how to go through the install. But before we do that, I'll show you the various ways of replacing the standard fan and how long that takes. Okay, so there are three basic methods of replacing the standard fan, and I'll give you an idea on all three. So the first one is the way that the workshop manual tells you to do it. Then I've got two shortcuts on how to do it. On all three methods you still need to remove the drive shaft because the fan is captive on the shaft. Okay, so the first method of removing the HST fan is the workshop manual way. It's long and involved, which is why it's very costly. So the first thing we need to do is take off the indicators on both sides, pull the power lead through, disconnect it, pull it through. Then the tail light assembly, same again, removing the connectors, removing that. Then if you have a canopy, you need to remove your canopy from your roll bar and remove your ropes completely. So then you need to remove your seat, and then we go around to the front of the tractor. Okay, so now you have the parts removed from the rear. Obviously I haven't done that, and the seat would be off. So what we need to do is remove the parts from around the seating area. So you need to take off these two knobs, and these can be quite difficult to pull off. They need quite a bit of force. Then you need to take off these two, this one here, and the top of the lever, and disengage the boot. This is all in an effort to get underneath the tractor to take off the two trims from under the guards and remove this cover plate and this cover plate. If you have a third function, you'll also have to remove the wiring for that. So next to do is the two grab handles, and finally you can remove the cover from the seat, popping all of the pins. The cover from the floor, popping all the pins. The rear, the floor, and that will allow you to start unbolting this rear cover plate, which lets you get to one little bolt. Okay, so the second method, which is a real shortcut, and it means we don't have to do all that removal, is to get to the bolt directly. Now I'll show you where the bolt on the drive shaft is located. It's right below this grommet here. Now on your tractor you won't have a grommet there. I've added that grommet. So if I pop that off, right below there is the bolt we need to remove on the drive shaft. So prior to the two-piece fan, I've had this in place so that I can bypass all that and save many hours of work. Now there's one more method that's a shortcut, and I'll show you that, but I don't recommend you do it, and I'll tell you why. The reason I don't recommend the third method is because you're putting your transmission at risk. Now by removing one bolt from the side of the transmission, you've still got a real problem trying to get the bolt off the drive shaft because of the angles and the access. It's even more difficult to reinstall it at the end. But the main reason is that you're introducing the possibility of introducing a leak to your transmission or cracking the case. And that's because you've reinstalled the bolt without having to torque it correctly, and now the 6 or 7 or so bolts around the transmission haven't been torqued in order. So I really don't recommend this method. If you want to use this method, by all means go ahead, but I'm not going to actually show you how to do that. So these are the tools that we need to change out your OEM fan for a two-piece fan. The first one is 1/4 inch ratchet. I'm use a stubby just to get the clearance under the tractor. Get a 1/4 inch 200mm extension with a warble so that your socket can go at an angle. You can also use a universal joint connection in there, a nice long screwdriver, set of circlip pliers with a bent end, a 7mm quarter-inch socket, a 12mm quarter-inch socket, 7mm spanner, and a pair of 12mm spanners. And it's really handy if one of them at least is a ratcheting type. So what we need for the drive shaft itself is the two 12mm and the screwdriver. And the screwdriver goes in to hold the drive shaft so that you can tighten and loosen the bolts, and also used to rotate the drive shaft. Obviously the circlip pliers to remove the circlip. The ratchet extension and the 12mm is for when you're coming down through the top of the floor to loosen the drive shaft bolt, which allows you to move the fan forward and back. And the two 7mm are for tightening the retaining ring on the two-piece fan. The next thing we need to do is remove the drive shaft, or rather slide the drive shaft back enough so that we can get the captive fan off. And to do that, we need to remove this adapter from the back of the engine and the drive shaft plate. So removing 3 bolts. Now you can turn this around by just using a screwdriver and rotating the engine as you go, doing all of the bolts. To the next one, and so on and so forth, then do the 3 on here. Then you pull this shaft backwards, or the plate on the shaft, and you can wiggle this coupler out through the bottom here. Regardless of which method you choose to remove the bolt from the drive shaft, you still need to remove the stock cover plate, and there are 2 bolts up here and the same on the other side. So remove those 4 bolts and take the cover plate off. Okay, so all the removal I've shown you so far is an effort to get this fan off the drive shaft. And to do that, the drive shaft needs to be split because it's captive. So with the 2-piece fan, we don't need to do any of that work, saving you literally hours of effort. What you need to do is cut through this piece here on the flange, and again on the other side of the first bolt, and then straight through here. And you can do that with a Dremel. I use a body saw with a reasonably long blade. You can do it at a pinch with a knife. Soldering iron will do the job. Anything to just get that piece of plastic off. That will let you get to the bolt. Then you rotate it around and do the same thing on the other side. And because we're putting on the 2-piece fan, we don't need to have the ability to slide a new one over the top of the shaft, or i.e. have a gap in the shaft. All we need to do is get this old fan off, and if you ever need to replace the 2-piece fan for whatever reason, it's already been done for you. You don't have to remove anything. You just split the 2-piece fan in half and replace the side that you've broken. Alright, so now we've got the fan off, we're ready to put the 2-piece fan on, and we attach it with 2 bolts on this position here and the opposite at the top. So next thing we need to do is prepare the 2-piece fan for installation. This is the fan kit. You get 2 little half spaces for the front and the 2 halves of the fan. And the fan, when it goes on, clips together, and there's a flat face side and a ridge side, similar to the original fan, and this ring will eventually go on the front. So the first thing we need to do is prepare the bolts for it, which are in the kit. So there's 4 small nylock bolts in the kit. Bolts with nylocks. So what we're going to do is put the bolts through to start with, which makes it a lot easier to do up later. You screw those in. it can get quite fiddly trying to put the nuts on from behind the fan, and this, putting these on first, makes it so much easier. Now the holes are reasonably tight, so you put them in a bit by hand and then you screw them through. Alright, so I've got the bolts through the fan, and if you notice, the head is on the ridge side, the flat has got the bolt sticking out. So when this goes together and the rings go on, the rings go opposite to the bolt heads, and then the nylocks go on top. So we're ready to start putting the fan shells on. I've put the original retaining bolt through, and make sure that it's just protruding the fan so you can get your spanner onto it. And what we do is we pass it through the top, down through the hole, push it up, line it up onto the thread, come in with the spanner, I've rotated the first half of the fan back to the top so we can get to this second bolt here. Now, one thing to make sure of is that this flat edge is against the flange here, otherwise the fan has got a chance of hitting the bodywork, and that's the same case with the OEM fan. If you put it around the wrong way, it's going to hit the bodywork and shatter. So again, push it through the top, spin it up, drop it back, lining the hole up, and this time we're also pushing into the other half of the fan. You'll hear it click. And tighten the mold up. Now we've got the fan tightened up, we need to install the locking ring, which is these two pieces. So, put the first one over the bolt. Push it in, and we can rotate the fan around. Put the second one on. Push that in, and you might need to, as in this case, rotate it around a bit and just get the pins to lock in. Now we have the locking ring in place and it's offset from the slit in the fan. Go ahead and put the nuts on, the nylock nuts. we can go ahead, and we've got the last one on here. Now we can go ahead and tighten them up. I'm just using a ring spanner from the back and a small ratchet from the front to tighten them up. Now that we've got the locking collar in place, the two-piece fan is all installed. Just have a look up there that you've got clearance. Make sure that the flat side of the fan is here and the recess is towards the rear, and you can go ahead and reinstall the front of the drive shaft. If you ever need to replace the fan, there's no need to do the drive shaft disassembly because you can get to all the bolts. Done. That's the installation of the two-part fan. If you like our videos, please press the subscribe button that's somewhere down on the bottom of the screen here. If you'd like to purchase a fan, they're available in our web store, www.ardedmetal.com.au. Thank you for watching.